I will be talking about the geospatial distribution of drought and then drought-induced tree mortality in East Texas. This is kind of a continuation of Dr. Rosen's talk, a little different, but it's still the challenge. Before I start, I would like to acknowledge a few people. Thank you so much for having me here. I would like to acknowledge World Wood Day Foundation, International Wood Culture Society, Dr. Women Chi, my supervisor, and Sandra Rideout Hanjak, my thesis chair committee, and Eric Gustafson from Northern Research Station, and then Dr. Zhang from China for providing a SAS script for my research. Here's the thing. For every living being, death is certain. And like Benjamin Franklin said, nothing is certain but death and taxes. But in case of Texas, the drought-induced tree mortality after 2011 drought was not certain before. So the basic premise behind this research is East Texas actually contains 90% of the productive forest of Texas, but in the recent days, Texas forest receives increasing fire frequency and then drought frequency as well. I will be talking about the drought specifically a little bit later. And in the preliminary research from the Texas A&M Forest Service found out that 65 million trees were dead, especially in East Texas. In very preliminary research, they claimed 601 million trees were dead in Texas, and then 301 million trees were dead in East Texas. But later on, they changed their findings and then claimed that 65 million trees were dead in East Texas because of the 2011 drought only. And then me and our lab members were presented one talk, especially the drought-induced tree mortality specific to 2011 drought in ESA 2015 meeting in Baltimore. And then the background here is in East Texas forest, increasing drought frequency is one of the threat causing tree mortality. So for those of you who don't know about the East Texas, on the map on your right, you can see the Texas, and then on the very right hand side you can see different colors inside map, and then the focus one is the study area is East Texas, which contains two climatic division, East Texas and then Upper Coast climatic division. And in Texas, pine is the most dominant forest, which has around 1,000 hectares of pine, and then followed by the oak. The research questions were actually to understand the geospatial distribution of drought and then the drought-induced tree mortality in terms of percentage, and then the increment rate if there is any changes in drought-induced tree mortality by using forest inventory and analysis data maintained by the United States Forest Service. So those of you who don't know about the geospatial, what is geospatial drought distribution? Any information with latitude and longitude or location information is called geospatial data. And then drought has a different definition, and one of the single definition cannot cover the whole concept of drought. So, but anyway, if there is insufficient water, and then that condition can be defined as a drought, and then I use the same definition in my drought analysis. So here's the thing. I use 44 years of hydrometeorological data, and then I use 4 different techniques to interpolate and to see the geospatial distribution of drought. And then to understand whether these models were valid or not, I used the validation techniques and then the other statistics to to get the valid result. And then just to put in the perspective, this is how I use the model, and this can be done using the ArcGIS software. I like this model builder rather than Python script. So this is just the basic information. This is not the exhaustive the methods used in this to understand the drought distribution in East Texas. In previous results, this research is actually inspired from the very seminal research of Philip in western part of United States, and then the boreal forest in Canada, and then somewhere nearby China, Beijing forest of China in 2009, 2011, and 2014. So based on the drought distribution, here you can see from top left to the bottom right, from 2000 to 2013. In case of drought, when I say drought in here, that means the moisture available for the trees, or you can simply say root zone soil moisture available to trees, whether that is available or not. And then the blue color indicates the wet situation, and then the red color indicates the drought condition. So here you can see after 2000, the drought is kind of increasing, and everybody claims that 2011 drought was abrupt, but you can see based on 2009, 10, and 8 data, the drought was not abrupt, but there was a latent drought in 2009, 10, and 8. The next data set I used was forest inventory and analysis data, which is maintained by the United States Forest Service. And I only use the data set subset for the East Texas. East Texas contains more than 3,000 sample plots. But I use certain criteria, followed by the criteria of Dr. Phillips, and I can only talk about a few. The criteria that I use in my analysis is I use those plots that are inventory at least 3 times after 2000 and then which experience significant drought. That is the drought index value minus less than -1, and then I'll be talking about that one a little bit later. So and for that, to understand the drought distribution and then drought cross-tree mortality, I selected those plots based on the 12-month average drought condition. Just to give you a little glimpse about the FIA data, you can go Google it and then type FIA tools or FIA data and tools, and then it will take you to this website, and then you can download the Microsoft Access version or the Excel version of the full data set for Texas and other states also. And United States Forest Service is the authoritative body to collect, update, analyze, and all the data related to forest in United States. This is my actual research workflow, but maybe the font size is not too big. But I'll be talking about only the extreme right-hand part of the slide, where I use those plots which experience a drought for at least for 6 years, and that is SPEI index, that is standardized precipitation evaporation index, developed in 2010, but then it is being extensively used because it not only considers the demand but also the supply aspect of moisture. And then when I use 259 plots, I use the annual proportion of biomass change, APBM, and then based on tree mortality based on height class, diameter class, latitudinal class, and then species class. And then why it is so important to understand the drought-induced tree mortality is because drought can cause novel species, And then it can also provide, it can change the carbon stock, and then it can also excite the forest fire, and then it also weakens the forest health and vigor, thereby provide the opportunity to insect and then pest infestation. Just to, before I take you to how the tree mortality is increasing over time, I wanted to remind the same slide again here. This is the second modeling part based on the nonlinear mixed model from 259 sample plots. And then as you can see in top left, figure number A, B, C, and D, these are the mortality trends by diameter class in figure number A, and then by height class, figure number B, by species category, figure number C, and then based on the latitudinal class, figure number D. And in all those, all these figures, you can see the mortality trend is nonlinear and then increasing over time. And again, to put a little bit different perspective in here, based on the two bottom figures, are from the fields where we normally witness the tree were dead somewhere nearby roads and then heavy clay swell, but we did not utilize the soil information to model the drought-induced tree mortality in our analysis. But SPEI index is not that familiar in Texas, United States. It's because the Palmer drought index is widely utilized for a long time. So I wanted to show the same thing in a different way in top left figure. As we can see, the mortality is increased over time, but at the same time, the recruitment rates is decreasing. When we consider all the plots together or by the species class. And then are these mortality actually triggered by drought itself or some other exogenous factors? So normally trees can be dead by endogenous factor and exogenous factor. Endogenous factors are also called competitive index, and then three of which are A's, basal area per hectare, and then forest density. We do not utilize the A's information because we didn't have that one available in forest inventory analysis data, but then we use basal area and density, then we found that these two factors were not significant, and then where we can say that the increasing tree mortality was not actually caused by the density dependent factors, but by density independent factors. And how I can say that the drought was the major factor, because I use only those plots affected by the drought and not by other factors. And in terms of biomass loss to mortality, this is actually the research the approach based on the research of Dr. Gustafsson from Northern Research Station, and then where we use the biomass loss to mortality just to understand whether we can use the FIA data to see the drought industry mortality or not. And at the same time, biomass is also decreasing over time in 87% of the plots. And then can we confirm that the weather caused the tree mortality in case of United Forest Service database, and drought in our case is the challenge in forest management? And then of course, yes. And based on the FIA database, when I use all the plots together in softwood and hardwood species, you can see the weather caused tree mortality is increasing over time. And then you can see only the data is available from 2006 to 2013 because the FIA started recording drought industry mortality only after 2006. It's a very general conclusion. Drought is the major factor causing tree mortality in East Texas forest. And then smaller trees are more prone to dead, and then based on size and then height also. And then it's because of the forest size, you can see the pine is the most the prone to mortality. And then this is the first time that we use forest inventory analysis data to understand the drought-induced tree mortality by using the FIA dataset. And then there is no uniform results from the globe, and in this at this backstop at this stage, Wong et al. 2012 proposed 3 different factors for uniform understanding of drought-induced tree mortality. And then we also use density-related change, basal area-related change, and then biomass reduction. And then these can provide the data set that can be compared with some other results. And thank you so much for your attention, and I'm so sorry to take a little bit longer time. Thank you.